I have to rename one of these links, man. I went to the other link.
No worries, sir. Well, welcome everyone. It is March 16th, a Monday, 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's the Representation Station. I'm Walter Clapp, here live with Roger Scott, or your lawyer
Yo.
and CPA. Do you have legal questions? Do you have questions about accounting? Do you have a good way of asking a hypothetical? Please send those questions my way, w@y435.org, and would love to hear from you. And yeah, it's an interesting world out there. As you know, we're in an undeclared war. Our strongest allies have just declined to join us in our undeclared war, but China is contemplating joining us in undeclared war in Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz. Um,
I had not heard that. I heard the Chinese were going to get their oil anyway because they're not attacking Iran.
well, nobody can get oil when the Strait of Hormuz is closed.
But it's only closed because Iran's going to fire on ships. But they stated they're not going to
Yes.
fire on other countries. They're only going to fire on the countries that join.
This, this is just what I hear. I obviously we'll see, but I think what's more important is the declaration of our closest allies saying no thanks. Although they are there, they're currently, we have a bunch of ships. The UK has ships. France has ships. Spain has been vehemently speaking out against what we're doing.
Yes,
Um,
refusing to let us use air bases that are
it,
located in Spain.
Italy is pissed. Poland supports us. This is also interesting. Ukraine, I think, is sending special ops people to counteract all the drone stuff because they have all this experience with the drone stuff.
Yes. And,
Uh,
I, and I think that's a wise move on their part for many reasons, not the least of which is
yeah,
it buys some goodwill with the Trump administration, theoretically,
yeah,
but it also
theoretically,
raises their stature considerably in the international community and the defense community.
yeah. Well, and you and I know what we need is a Congress with a spine to reclaim the war powers of Article One, and you know, got to uncap the House. But until then, we're gonna make sure that you are informed and thinking about ways to connect representation in your everyday conversations. That's what Roger and I do as professionals. We weave these webs into conversation with people we run into at the grocery store, with clients, with everyone in between. And again, if you're looking for help, how to talk about this in your community, we've got grassroots chapters that are opening across the country, and we'd love to have you join us and continue the conversation. And maybe we'll have you on the station here, and you can talk about how that's going for you. Um, Back to Iran,
Well, no, you made
Roger.
an interesting point. Before we move on, you made an interesting
Yeah,
point. You said, we're here to keep you informed, right,
yeah,
about the news of the world and representation. These are the
yeah,
things that you and I and the group at large talk about. This is what we want our representatives to do for us, right?
right.
You and I should
Yes,
not be the ones keeping the citizens informed. It should be our representatives.
it
When was
should
the
be.
last, when was the last time you got anything substantive from your? I got an email this week that was just fluff, right?
Yeah.
From my guy Richard Hudson. So
I think the people are taking a serious look at uncapping the House right now. I would say I think both Democrats and Republican leadership are seriously considering this ahead of the midterms. I mean, you see what Mr. Beast is doing. He just met with Mr. Beast,
yes,
so I feel like that's a big deal. That's a
yeah,
big
that
deal.
could blow up.
Yeah. So we may be educating a lot more people. So we need to get better at this, Roger. This is just our practice right now.
Yeah, and there's
This is the
it's
practice of law. Do you call it a practice as a CPA?
yes,
Is it the practice of accounting?
the practice of yeah, an accounting practice is what I run, and
Huh?
an advisory accounting practice.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, if you have a
I
license,
practice law.
and if you have a license from the state, you practice architecture and medicine and stockbrokering and all the five original professions.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of practice, I was recently appointed to become a guardian ad litem in a case, and
Ah,
I can't say too much about it, but it's a fascinating area of law. It's a
yes, it
bullying
is.
case, and it will be public, and so maybe I can talk about it more. But it really is a practice because what you find out is sometimes you look around and you're the smartest person in the room, and that might be a little surprising because everyone is practicing. And I think that's what we have to remember is how human all of this is, especially war. And I think it often this is kind of like Occam's razor, right? It's like the simplest explanation often explains things. Sometimes it's money and greed and conspiracy, but sometimes it's just pure human stupidity, right?
Or just misreading the room, misreading the moment, right?
Yeah.
Getting high on your own supply. I think the success in Venezuela and the success bombing last year in Iran, I think they got high on their own supply, man, and they figured they could just do this anywhere, anytime, anybody, and they're school's in session.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of domestic oil producers who are set to benefit from this, but it's interesting because Trump is simultaneously demanding that they have oil prices back down to $50 a barrel by the midterms. And so, he thinks that he's going to be in and out of Iran before the midterms. And I'm like, I mean, we've never done that before. Let me just put it that way. I don't think we've ever been in and out of the Middle East in quite that way when you have such a, we've been entrenched with Iran since the 50s, right?
Yep. Yep.
So this is just so long lasting, and this is such a huge thing. It seems well, the idea that we're going to have $50 oil before the midterms seems fantastical. Have we ever had a oil number crunch like that has come back down? Yes, it's possible, but I struggle to see it.
He's making this shit up. He's riffing, man. He's doing his thing. He's doing his weave. He's doing his trademark bullshit. None of it's real. Yeah. He doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah. Well,
he knows what's going on with the drapes, but other than that.
See, and that's the whole Epstein thing, right? I mean, it all comes back to this, and
Well, there was an interesting piece I read today. Well, there was a couple of interesting pieces I read today. One of which was from a text, a link in a text that you had sent. Yeah. And there was a point in there that I had not considered before. It was giving reasons why various groups of people should be supporting the effort to uncap the House. Why should Democrats support it? Why should Republicans support it? Why should state legislators support it? And I had not considered this before, that they stand to be substantial beneficiaries from a greatly expanded House. They have some experience in getting elected in smaller groups. They have some legislative experience. Right? Who you gonna call?
It's better representation for the larger states, for the larger state governments, in addition to the larger state people. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting. The other one was the Astral Codex. Did you read that piece?
Yes. I've read a bunch of pieces. I can't even keep them all straight at this point.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. He made a good argument for just passing the outstanding amendment, but it really does. It still creates a maximum number of representatives, not a minimum. So I unless you get a kind of a very stringent Supreme Court interpretation of that, it doesn't get us, the quality, the high quality representation that we want.
Right.
Yeah. But
to get back to Iran now, the other interesting piece was about the three parties involved, right? Who has time on their side? The Israelis have the most time. The Iranians next. the U.S. has very little time, right? Because the populace will not stand for it, and the markets
yeah.
will crash, and
Uh,
a lot of bad consequences will come down on America very quickly that we are unwilling or unable to withstand. Iran can withstand a bunch of stuff. Israel's proven over the years they can withstand a bunch of stuff. Americans are pussies, man. We can't withstand any of this.
Also looks like there's been a total collapse of the national power grid in Cuba, leading
Oh,
to
yeah.
nationwide blackouts.
Yep. Well, we're blockading the island. They can't get any oil. What do you expect?
Yeah. And I'm also seeing here a federal judge has blocked RFK back changes to the CDC's childhood vaccine schedule.
Yeah, and rendered his puppet board invalid.
Of ATIP or ASIP.
Yep.
Yeah.
He fired all the board and brought in his picks, his cronies, and that's been ruled invalid as part of that same ruling, I think.
I think it is actually, I was reflecting on this recently. I think it's technically a violation of my professional responsibility to be openly critical of our judicial system. Like one of my obligations is to like support and uphold the rule of law and not be critical of judges, independent judges. And one of the principal, I think, facets of our system is the idea of judicial immunity. Also, my dad is a judge, a district court judge, and it's all of these. I think the thing that people always need to remember when they see a district court judge issuing a ruling is that they get them wrong about 30% of the time. Getting back to the practice of law, right? And so, anytime you see something like this, and especially on such a high charged area like vaccines, I think it's always important to say, okay, when it says a federal judge, that means it's one singular, it means it's a district court,
right?
And so, hold your breath, right? Just don't. It's nothing. It's never anything to get, I think, too worked up over. We will see.
Yeah, and
I also see. Go ahead.
Clear this up for me. My understanding, which may be imperfect because I'm not a lawyer, is that the district court rules on the facts, and if it's appealed, the appeal is to determine if the judge misapplied the law, if the judge got something wrong, not to re-examine the factual basis of the case, but to determine if the judge misbehaved or missed something or whatever. So to the extent that the judge is right on the law, right? So you're telling me that the federal judges are wrong on the law about 30% of the time?
Yeah, probably. I would say.
And
depends on the district.
Wrong's a loaded term because that the appeals court says
overturned.
It's overturned.
Exactly. So you're absolutely right. So there's different standards of review for facts and laws, and those standards of review are different. So they give more deference to a district court's analysis of the facts because they have better ability to determine credibility of witnesses in particular.
And more time to focus.
So they're less likely to disturb a finding of fact, but they are more likely to disturb an analysis of the law or an application of the law. And so that is it. And I would just say there, we have a lot of statutes and regulations in this world. I mean, it is astronomical. And so, yeah, I mean, I think AI may fundamentally change this, but district courts get it wrong a lot, especially less so maybe at the federal level and less so, say, like in certain sub areas, categories of the law, but like complicated civil rights or federal powers or these struggles between the branches, like they're gonna you get things overturned for sure. And especially I would just say when things are a little bit political or high dollar, obviously there's more focus on it, there's more litigation, and so there's this tension that builds actually between the circuits. That's actually one of the designs of our federal system, is that we have these different circuits, and so like the Ninth Circuit is very different from the Fifth Circuit, and so the way that the Fifth Circuit deals with district court
Every
judges,
circuit is different from the Fifth Circuit.
well, every circuit is also different from the Ninth Circuit, and every circuit is different from the
Agreed.
10th and the
But the
Fifth
Fifth
Circuit.
is a special case.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But in that they're the most conservative. I mean, you
Yeah.
could say they're the most conservative.
Far and away the most conservative. Like
Sure,
far
and the
and away.
Ninth Circuit is far and away the most liberal.
Okay.
Where I happen to practice here in Montana. Montana is part of the Ninth Circuit. I also practice in Wyoming, which is in the 10th Circuit. So they are neighboring states, but different federal circuits,
Right.
different outcomes for clients. And you know, I always have the option of filing something in, or not always, but often, of state versus federal district court. And then the standards of review are different. So here, this was out of probably a federal district judge. I don't have here what circuit in front of me, but it's going to go to a panel of 3 judges, right? That circuit panel to review it, and then so the Supreme Court is most likely to look at things if they're hot button like this. They may look at something like this quicker. But the other one is when you build that tension, like when there is a circuit split, they call it, between the Ninth Circuit and the Fifth or the 10th or whoever. And sometimes you'll get like teams, right? There will be multiple circuits on either side of that split. And so, you know, in order to get there to those splits, you have a lot of district court judges that are basically like ruling how the other, you know, their competitive circuit court looks at it. So it's you know, I think that is actually pretty useful, and it's you also get all these different applications of the law because federal courts will also apply state law, and they'll ask the state Supreme Courts to like interpret law for them. They'll do what they call certify questions to those state Supreme Courts. You also get the competition of 50 different state Supreme Courts that are interpreting law that apply to those citizens, but it's federal courts that actually do the application of that law, which is, you know, is interesting. I digress. What else is in the news you want to talk about, Roger?
Apparently the cat's name is Murphy, Brian E. Murphy in Massachusetts.
Ah, he's the one. Mass. Well, you know, Massachusetts is full of pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
So that doesn't, you know, but we'll see. We will see. It's also very possible that you know, this administration didn't follow certain protocols for changing certain things. That wouldn't necessarily surprise me either. You know, all this tension. I think if one thing comes away from the Trump administration for me, that I think, you know, there is a lot of tension being put on the judiciary, but it's good. It's like, you know, in some ways it's working, I think, right? Like the judiciary is making mistakes, but then I think they're getting corrected, and there's some like glaring flaws that are like these like holes in, I think, the soul of America, like Citizens United, right? It's like giving power to corporations over human souls in representation, I think is, you know, there's some problem. Like the market, we are not shareholders. We are indirectly shareholders of these corporations at this point, right? All of the corporations are owned by, you know, our IRAs and 401ks, not by us individually. And so there's just no accountability if corporations have, or boardrooms have, an unlimited amount of speech, but humans don't. But so how do you fix that? It's like, well, you kind of have to uncap the House and then get a constitutional amendment to fix it, right? I mean, you need a constitutional amendment to fix Citizens United. I don't think we should amend the Constitution until you uncap the House, and then you'll get an amendment that is genuine. That's the only way to do it without having a convention of the states, which again, Congress has to call a convention of the states, which means they write the rules, and I don't really want that. I don't trust the current Congress to call a convention of the states. I think that's a recipe for something bad. And so it always brings us back to uncapping the House, Roger.
Mm-hmm. Well, and my favorite line is, no matter what particular governmental reform you support, whoever I'm speaking to, your chances of success improve when we uncap the House.
That's right.
That's it.
So I think whatever side of the vaccine situation a person might find themselves, I mean, I want representation to help solve this. I think the tension between the pharmaceutical and oil industrial military complex, and representation vis-a-vis me. The solution is not probably, I think, the judiciary to resolve these issues. It is better representation and a rebuilding of trust in expertise. And we've obviously lost some of that as a result of COVID and Trump, and we need to rebuild it. And we do it in the House, the People's House, and I can't wait. I feel like we're close, Roger. I feel like we're getting closer every day.
The tide is flowing, as they say on
It
the
is.
It's not ebbing. It's flowing.
It's flowing, baby.
And now we just got to get to the king tide stage, and then everything.
I don't. Have I done a station in this office before? I love this representation. So on my left is two bears fighting in the waters of Alaska. And on my right is, two of these beautiful mallards, a male and a female, just, in harmony, flying over a lake. It's like living their best lives. And this is the image that I try to portray to my potential clients or existing clients. It's like, we have a choice. Do we want to fight like ogres, Russian bears, right? Or do we want to be smart and fly above it all? With and I think that Mr. Beat is soaring above it all. And I'm just excited to see what happens next. And this competition, I think, with the midterms coming up, this pressure is building because the Republicans know that they're going to lose if they don't uncap the House. If they jumped on uncapping the House right now, they could save it. They could. I think if Trump agreed to give away power, because there could be like the implementation could be in 2029, say, and right before the census, and through the census, and then you seat the new House in 30. That bill could get passed right now, and the Republicans could have a huge advantage. They could cement, a legacy. And that drives, I hope, and it should, the Democrats to say, well, shit, we need to do this first, right? Because we have the opportunity to solidify this and hold the people that we think we need to hold accountable with the power of impeachment, right? Because that's the way I think, and my message to the Democrats is, if you go and just start litigating this in the courts and trying to throw people in prison, you're no better than Trump. You're no better than Trump. You have to do this in the House through the power of impeachment. Just they can never, if you think somebody has committed a crime, then they can never hold federal office again. Period. That's easy. It's fundamental.
He was convicted of insurrection, and he's able to hold federal office. What the hell are you talking about? It was a state court, but it was a court of competent jurisdiction. They found him guilty of insurrection, and the Supreme Court overruled him and said, "Hey, he can be back in federal office, no problem." Bullshit.
Well, again, that's right. So the power is with Congress. I agree with the Supreme Court. It's not for them to decide. It is for Congress.
And yet they decided. They should have walked away and left it alone.
Whatever. If we disagree or not, they've said what they've said. So
right.
The answer is in Congress. So
agreed. And more circuits in the federal courts. More judges in general. You've read the same report, right?
Yeah. But, well, of course, and so my view is that basically the judiciary and the legislative branch both need enough resources to spy competently on the executive branch, right? The executive branch is spying on everyone, including our congressmen, our judges, me and you.
Yeah.
But our legislature and our judiciary really don't have that capacity. And so I think in part it's about a capacity building. I think you're absolutely right. So which means additional funding for both of those branches. And but it has to start with the legislature, I think, right? Like I think you need a functioning legislature to write the bill that's going to help, build up the judiciary. Because if the current Congress does it, again, as we talk about over and over again, you're going to get, a bad bill.
Right. So, but it all comes back to the same question. Why would Trump and the Republicans agree to what you're suggesting? Trump doesn't want to give
Because,
power to anybody, and the
well,
Republicans
he
in
has
Congress.
to, yeah, but I think he has, I mean, if in fact he is planning to leave at the end of this term, then he has one way to leave. He can leave like George Washington with, a king-like, having asserted king-like powers and giving it away, or he cannot, and he will be remembered as, a tyrant, and that is up to him.
Well,
If he genuinely doesn't is okay being remembered as a tyrant, then that is, I guess, how he will be remembered. But this is his opportunity to reform his image in a final act. And I think that I understand that you believe that it is impossible, perhaps, or 0.000000001% chance.
infinitesimal.
I think the odds are hopeful, and I also think that the fact that Trump is a wild card. I think we can all agree that Trump is a wild card. I think
No.
he does things that make that I would have bet money he would not have done, that are not in his self-interest.
Single-minded focus.
But he surprises me, and I think he surprises people, and it's possible. And that possibility, that fact of possibility, is the reason that the Democrats are trying to get out ahead of it.
He never surprises on the upside, Walter. All his surprises are on the downside. All of them.
I understand your.
Listen, he has no incentive to every incentive everything he's internalized throughout his life gives him incentive to rage against the dying of the light, to rage against the machine, to try and prove that he's the biggest, the baddest, the best, the biggest dick, whatever.
Yeah, but
right?
how do you do that? I mean, the way that you show you're the biggest man in the room is to give it away.
He doesn't understand that.
Well, but can he be made to understand that? I think he
Good
can.
luck.
I don't
Good
think
luck with
that
that
he's
sales
like
pitch,
Coach's
I'll quote you.
impossibilities.
Hold your breath. Quoting you from
Well,
earlier in this conversation. Hold your breath.
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at holding my breath, actually.
All right. Anyway, moving on from Trump. I can't talk about him
All right.
anymore. Or
I know.
I'll break a string later on playing guitar. I'll be so angry. I can't afford more
man,
strings. The tariff are
talking
killing me on the
about
guitar strings.
blood boiling. Well, I won't get into it. But the bureaucracy, I will just say, is difficult to interact with more and more. Like as we're like fighting this war, and just all of these things, and like it's difficult for me to pay taxes this year. But
I just finally got my little bit of refund on my 2024 taxes. Just landed in my account today.
Wow.
Now it's a long, disgusting story. I had to file by mail. I couldn't file online because when I tried to type in the AGI from the prior year as a validation point, it told me I had the wrong number. I looked up the number on the damn transcript, the IRS transcript website. That's where I got the number. I put it in. They said it was wrong. So then I had to file it by mail. But when I filed it, Elise wasn't here, so I went ahead and did the signatures in Adobe. You affix your signature, and I've got it in blue ink and all that jazz. But this time they caught it. I've sent papers in before and they never said a word. This time they caught it and sent it back. So then I had to get her to sign it again, and I didn't get it sent in until January sometime. And now I finally got my refund, my $300 refund.
Well, yeah, I think that IRS processing should happen in my congressional district office. I think it's a legislative branch function. I've said this before, and you've disagreed with me. I'm interested if you've pondered this more.
Well, I've come closer to your position. I remember after the Supreme Court issued the Chevron decision, and
Yeah.
the discussion about the federal agencies being illegitimate or too
Different.
much. Yeah. And your idea, whether it's your original idea or something that you picked up about how the same people doing the same work on the same issues, some portion of them, half, 40%, whatever, just transferred to the legislative payroll and answer to someone in the legislative branch.
Right.
That that has merit, given what we have now seen of an administration misusing all the power that they have. There's more merit in having beefier oversight, spying, as you said earlier, having people on the legislative side that can spy on the other side. Because
Yeah.
and you're
Oversee. I mean, oversight is the preferred term. I'm just
Right.
calling it for what it is, because the executive branch is definitely spying, and Congress is engaged in oversight.
Oversight ain't working. We've
No, it's not.
administration officials before.
They're outmatched. It's a David v. Goliath.
The party line. They don't answer questions. I swear, man. If I was in that room, I'd have one of those canned air horns, and every time they started deviating from a yes or no question, I'd get thrown out of the room. But I'd get that blast. Even if I were a member of Congress, I would do it.
We have a question. What do you think about Project 2029? Is it a chance for uncapping being added to there? I've not heard of Project 2029. How about you, Roger?
I have not seen anything written, but I've heard reference to it. The idea is that the Democrats should come up with a manifesto of what they plan to do if they get control of the presidency as a counter or
okay.
2025. And so, just like you said, a litany of all the stuff, all the angry responses that we want to do to all the people in the Trump administration, that would be the focus of a Project 2029. It would not include uncapping the House. I am 100% against a Project 2029 unless the first item in the project is uncapping the House.
Amen. I think that's beautiful. That's perfectly put, Roger.
Yep.
And that's my answer as well. If we're going to do Project 2029, it's got to start with uncapping the House. Otherwise, the American public, you're not going to win over the independents, I don't think, or you're going to have a harder time. I think if you start with uncapping the House, you've got a much easier time winning over all of the independent voters, all the swing voters, bringing back the young men that you lost in 2024. And absolutely.
Well, and I would, if they're going to do this, I would highly advise they use some other title, no 2029, like it's a bolt on.
It's like the tit for tat gerrymandering.
Call it Plan Fuck Trump. I'm down for that.
No,
don't call it Fuck 2029.
I disagree, dude. No. Project 2029 is much better than a pejorative ad hominem. Come on.
Well, whatever. I'm in a mood.
Okay, so what else? Anything else?
I'm in a rude mood.
You're in a rude mood. I drove. So here, I've got a quick story. So
Okay.
I've got this. I got appointed. I have a trial on Wednesday about this. And
for the minor that you're representing?
yes, yep, exactly. And so I had to get up to Red Lodge because I live down in Laramie, and I was supposed to drive on Sunday. Had a big snowstorm. Roads were closed. So I was like, oh, and
You got
so
horses?
then, I was gonna have to drive 6.5 hours, and so I ended up buying a plane ticket. I was supposed to leave at 5:30 this morning and get me here at like 9:30. And I get to the airport this morning at 4:30 in the morning, and the guy like comes out. And he's like, "Hey, the flight's canceled. Just so you know." And so I'm like, "Oh God." So my wife drives me back to my house, and then I repack all my stuff into the car to come up here, and then I drive 7 hours, and then I got here, and I've worked all day, and now I've spent 36 minutes with you fine, wonderful human beings, but I'm ready to call this a
You're out
day
of gas.
and wrap it. And we've got a couple guests in the works. Otherwise, you're going to continue to see Roger and I educating you about the law, about advisory tax practice, and representation, my good fellows. And Roger's going to be leaving us for the beautiful sunny shores of California and Portugal.
Yep.
And we are going to wish him well on that journey. You're just
Oh,
going to be hearing
in
from
about a
me
month. I mean,
in about a month. Okay.
Yeah.
April.
My daughter's wedding celebration is in April in California. They did the
God
deed
bless
and
her.
they did the deed on Guam a couple of years ago, but now all the family gets to celebrate and attend and celebrate. You know.
Yeah. And it's cool. And her husband is working for our services as an aide de camp of a high up muckety muck.
Yeah,
So
he is.
congratulations to him and Roger.
Yep, he's a Coast Guard officer finishing up a graduate degree in Portugal, and soon he will be the aide de camp of head Coast Guard guy, I think.
Very exciting.
Lunday is his name.
Lunday. All right. Well, I keep thinking we need to get all of our veterans. We need to do a better job of engaging our veterans, Roger, in Uncapping the House, because I feel like this is something our veterans should get behind, and I feel like we don't have a good contingent.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna reach out to some veterans I know and see if they want to get more involved.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with the chairman of the Alamance County Democrat Party last week, and he generally supportive of the idea, but he's reticent to get involved because he's focused on fighting gerrymandering, getting Anita Earls elected to the Supreme Court, fighting the gerrymandering, and just getting more Democrats in state government. As you know, you've heard me complain several times about North Carolina. He doesn't have the bandwidth to get involved in a substantial way with this. So he's fighting different battles that I wasn't thinking about when I approached him. Anyways,
people are busy. People are busy. No. I'm happy to continue to talk if you have things to add. I'm out of Wheaties in my brain.
Yeah, we need to get some new material. I was too busy focused on trying to learn a new piece on the guitar to think about this before the piece.
Well, you should be playing music. I want to hear Roger open with a song. When are we going to hear that, Roger? Before you go to Portugal, can we hear a song?
Maybe I'll record something and we can play the recording. But
that would be great.
I'm not prepared to make art live in front of people.
All right.
There's a couple of surf tunes I can fake my way through.
There you go. I believe in you.
All right. I've only played 2.5 years, so keep your expectations.
Well, in honor of Jeff, I'm here representing Jeff. Peace, love, and representation.
Ciao.
Yes, sir. Ciao.